a screwy lawyer.
Biger didn't like...
You know what he looks like? Tell me he don't look like him. YouTube, what's going on? It is your boy Ray, and today we got some drug lords reacting to their prison sentences. So without further ado, make sure you hit that like button, make sure y'all subscribe, and let's get into it.
Reacting to prison sentences.
You're convicted because you're guilty. That's the plain and simple truth of it.
The war on drugs is one of America's biggest battles, and drug lords like Dexter Lee Williams make it far, far harder. Williams joined the likes of El Chapo and Pablo Escobar in running a massive drug ring in Atlanta, Georgia for 5 years.
Damn.
After valiant efforts from law enforcement officials, including wiretaps, recorded phone calls, and over a dozen arrests, the trail of cocaine, heroin, marijuana, and meth led to one man, Dexter Lee Williams, who already had prior arrests for cocaine and marijuana distribution, but it seemed like he didn't want to be a small fry and wanted to be the boss, to his own downfall. In March 2020, Williams was arrested after officials intercepted a shipment of 87 pounds of cocaine.
God, bro, there's a cokehead somewhere punching the air right now. Just why it couldn't have been me that found it. You know what I'm saying? Jesus, 87?
Worth nearly $4 million, which was a far cry from Williams' small-time gigs he did. But hey, everyone needs to grow, right? Without a single thing learned from majors who always ended up in prison, Williams was put on trial and faced up to 60 years in jail. In court,
that's the rest of his life. He looked about 50 right here.
The judge gave him a piece of his mind about the ramifications of drugs and how dangerous Williams is to the community.
You are involved in that problem that exists with many defendants that come before me.
Williams stood there and took it all, and despite his attorney trying to argue,
We talking about from me, Judge? You holding what I said?
I'm talking to Mr. Williams. I've heard everything.
Right, but you're holding what other accusations? He didn't.
I'm not gonna lie, he might not be the only person that's in there fighting for his life. You know, he's not fighting that much, but she might be fighting for her life too. Because sometimes you gotta think about it like this: that the criminals, they be knowing where the lawyers stay at and stuff like that. Her life could be on the line too as well. Like if you don't get him out of this, we're gonna come after you or something like that. So you never know. She might be, you know what I'm saying?
Didn't testify.
he was finally sentenced to 40 years behind bars.
I will sentence Mr. Williams to 20 years to serve. Count 2, I will sentence him to 20 years. That will be consecutive to count 1, and I'm going to require that that be served.
A drug sentencing is no joke, which is probably why you shouldn't argue with a judge. Like,
people think you're harmless until they get to know you a little better and realize you have a temper, you're a little mean-spirited, and you don't appear to have a kind bone in your body.
Wace Biger, who had some choice words to say in court for being arrested on drug charges.
Not a fair trial. And I got a screwy lawyer.
Biger didn't like...
You know what he looks like? Tell me he don't look like him. Tell me he don't. Oh wait, you can't. Anywho, back to the video. You wanna know the crazy part? He doesn't even look like a person that would distribute that type of stuff. But you wanna know what I've learned from my experience on the streets and everything like that? It's the people that you would never expect. It's the people in those high-rise apartments or in the mansions out in the neighborhoods that you can't even get in. It's the people that you would never expect. Dead ass.
like his trial, despite being there for running a drug network in Michigan dealing thousands of pills like morphine and dilaudid. Despite running a twistedly lucrative drug business, the judge criticized Biger for living a crummy lifestyle. Even the drug business itself was pretty substandard, as far as drug rings go, as they operated out of trailers, campers, and an apartment above a pizza joint. We better hope that dough didn't have any additive secret ingredients. Anyway, Biger completely denied all of the allegations in court, despite one of his drug dealers, Jason Blackmore, testifying against him.
Was the primary provider of morphine during that time period within Antrim County. He kept going back to Saginaw and was getting 800 pills a month.
Damn.
Back here. And hopefully his sentencing at the high end of the guidelines and the consecutive nature will send a message to anybody that may want to fill that vacuum that regardless of your age, there is a consequence if you are caught trafficking this quantity of controlled substance.
Biger was also quite mean for a 71-year-old man, criticizing his lawyer, the judge, and the justice system, leading the judge to snap on him with some pretty heartfelt words.
It didn't stop you from being manipulative. It didn't stop you from abusing other people. I listened to the testimony of your wife who referred to the piece of paper, said she was high when she married you, which doesn't surprise me. I don't know what you come to believe in your own mind the attraction is between the two of you.
You can't really expect a sweet old man from a drug dealer. Despite his complaints, Biger still received 15 years in prison, making it the longest drug-related sentence in Antrim County's history.
Sentencing you to 180 to 360 months on charge
Damn.
1. On charge 2, the controlled substance delivery charge, 23 to 240 months.
Damn.
Charges 3 and 4.
Damn.
23 to 240 months. And then
Damn.
maintaining a drug house, 16 to 24
Damn.
months. And on conducting the criminal enterprise, that's 50 to
Damn.
240 months.
On the opposite end, some convicts instantly admit their faults, like Benjamin Bundy. No relation to the notorious serial killer Ted Bundy, but the name does seem to carry a crime-ridden curse. Bundy broke down in tears in court as he realized he had the blood of 2 victims on his hands, including his own girlfriend.
Wow.
Bundy dealt drugs in New Hampshire, but the competition forced him to get twistedly innovative, in the worst possible way, lacing his drugs with the extremely additive substance, fentanyl. As if those things weren't bad enough, his crazy concoction led to the overdose and death of Matthew Nichols and Bundy's girlfriend, Jennifer Azara.
I would submit that this case really is, in fact, a dismal testament to where all of this ultimately leads.
Bundy wasted no time in court, however, taking a plea deal and admitting everything. This wasn't the highlight of the hearing, though, as tensions and emotions got heated when the victims' families gave their statements.
The life that Matt gave to me is gone.
Time changes nothing. I miss her as much today as I did the day she died.
The whole time, Bundy kept a quiet and stoic demeanor, but even a hardened drug dealer couldn't handle broken parents, and he himself burst out into tears.
15 years, you get a second chance. I hope you use it wisely.
By the end, Bundy received 15 years in prison for his crime, and as
That ain't bad at all, bro. But he does have to live with that, though. You know, the fact that he killed people.
Zara's father thinks he might have a second chance after then. It seems lacing heroin with fentanyl is the latest culinary craze in this messed up world of drugs, as another dealer, Aon Andrade, was also taken down for it. In this tragic story, though, Andrade was in court for the death of a previous drug addict, Kristen Coutu. Coutu was doing well in rehab, but eventually fell to the pull of heroin again when she started dating a drug addict, and this path eventually led her to Andrade. Kristen died of an overdose because it turned out Andrade didn't just sell her heroin, but the far more addictive fentanyl.
The state would have proven that what the defendant really sold Kristen Coutu was nearly pure fentanyl, a controlled substance like heroin or morphine, hundreds of times more toxic than heroin.
Are all these facts true?
Yes, ma'am.
Andrade was in court for second-degree murder, but he wasn't just facing life behind bars. He was also facing something far more tragic: the visible pain of Coutu's mom and family, as they couldn't get it together in court.
There were 2 Cranston police officers standing there. All I could say repeatedly was, "Please don't tell me my daughter is dead. Please don't tell me my daughter is dead."
Surprisingly, though, unlike most convicts, Andrade showed remorse and guilt in court, which Coutu's mom even appreciated.
And I know I hurt a lot of people, including her family and my family, because we're all going through this.
It does make me feel a little bit better that he has that remorse and that he feels sorry for what he did.
Guilt doesn't make up for a daughter's death, though, and Andrade got 40 years in prison after a no-contest plea. Now, while some drug dealers are only in it to make a quick buck, some are downright maniacal, like Charles Crosy, a.k.a. Rome. The man behind this horrifyingly blank
Look crazy.
stare in court was arrested on 11 drug charges, but his rep sheet went way back. After a series of overdose-related deaths in New Richmond, leads in cases all led back to Crosy, who sold heroin, fentanyl, and cocaine. Crosy is like something out of a supervillain comic book story, however, as this real-life kingpin forced addicts to sell his drugs by beating them. During investigations, many of them pointed to their merciless boss, or his street name, Rome. And the one straw that broke the camel's back was an informant who bought drugs from Rome.
Individuals like Charles Crosy provide the weapon, they provide the bullet, and they spin the chamber, pointing at the addict's head, and all the addict has to do is pull the trigger. That's who Charles Crosy is.
The trial was pretty short and sweet, since Crosty couldn't have been caught more red-handed. But the way Crosty was completely silent, giving everyone a death stare, was very eerie. During the hearing, the chief of police described how he found Rome's dealers beaten and busted, almost in sympathy.
They would have black eyes, or their face would be swollen. And I would ask them, how did this occur? And they would frankly tell me that Rome, Charles Crosy, and his associates would beat them.
Now they probably dead now, thanks to you telling them all this. Unless he don't get phone calls in there, which he probably does. You know what I'm saying? Either way, or to get around. And yeah, them little crackheads probably dead, but
But by the end of this discomforting hearing, though, Crosty got 20 years and 9 months in prison.
Every day that he's locked up is one day that New Richmond, Clermont County is a little bit safer.
All in all, was the nickname Rome for having an empire? Or for the...
That's not the empire you want to have. But anyways, let me know your thoughts on this video right here, man. Appreciate y'all for watching if you did. And also, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure y'all subscribe. Peace.